Welcome back to the show. If you're just now joining us and you haven't paid attention to our sponsors, check out today's sponsor, Safeguard Recruiting. If you're having recruiting issues with your law enforcement agency, this is the place to go. Check them out at safeguardrecruiting.com.
Welcome to Courageous Leadership with Travis Yates, where leaders find the insights, advice, and encouragement they need to lead courageously.
Well, I'm excited about today's guest. He's a two-time guest now. He's been on the show before, and today's episode is a special episode with a special event that's coming up featuring Jeremy. Jeremy Wade is the Executive Director of Mission First Alliance, and he brings awareness and support to existing gospel-focused ministries, and he raises ambassadors in local churches to effectively engage and reach our nation's first responders. As you probably know, Jeremy previously served with the Seattle Police Department, where he was a previous Officer of the Year and a winner of the Medal of Valor. Jeremy, I'm so pumped that you're here, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Just thanks for having me again. I appreciate you and everything you do.
No, and I just, I hope our audience has seen the previous episode with you. I want them to go back and listen to that, at another time, but let's just bring them up to speed. You spent a number of years in Seattle, and just talk about your journey as you left that agency and what you're doing now.
Yeah, I was with Seattle PD for 13 years, started in 2008, ended up leaving in 2021. I loved everything about being a police officer, loved everything about working for the Seattle Police Department, as hard as it was at times. Working there through even the riots of 2020 and on. But I just love the journey that God had me on in that department. The opportunities that I had to serve in patrol, to serve in the training unit, to serve in our peer support unit, starting our wellness unit right before COVID and the riots hit, just having the opportunity to support officers in my department, around the state, and then even around the country with resilience and wellness. And spiritual support, overseeing the chaplains program and so many things. And it was really out of all of that support for officers and seeing the need that God continued to grow that burden in me and my family, and gave us the just the desire to step out when we felt like God was calling us to step out in just a few years ago, and which led to us starting Mission First Alliance just a year and a half ago as a national gospel-focused first responder alliance.
Yeah, it's an incredible leap of faith, Jeremy. I love stories like this. That's why we're completely behind you and support of you. I know I support the alliance. We're going to talk about how others can do it as well, because what you're doing and what you're touching on tends to be a taboo subject in law enforcement. It's the spiritual side. And I want to specifically talk about the spiritual side of leadership. It's a leadership podcast. And I think oftentimes we ignore the importance of a higher calling, right? Working for something other than just your inner circle. I mean, in law enforcement, there's no other profession that really should be able to get that. Like, most people doing this successful, I believe, should understand they're doing this for the greater good, for a higher calling. Can you just kind of expand on why spiritual health, spiritual wellness is so important in leadership?
Yeah, I do believe everything you said. I do believe that these jobs are a calling. I think that we are very mission driven. Everyone from the top down on day one is mission driven, accepts the calling, accepts the danger and the sacrifices that come along with it. But again, yeah, I agree that we get into this wanting to make a difference, wanting to serve other people. And I think that even as the conversation grows among leadership around wellness, which I love to see, and for years I got to be a part of that. As the increase for wellness grows, even psychologists recognize that there is mind, body, and soul. And I think that we're doing so much better in terms of support for mind and body, recovering from traumas, the physical, recovery, in aspects of the job. But I think that where I saw in law enforcement specifically, that we fall really short is in that spiritual support area. We acknowledge that there are moral injuries. We acknowledge that people do need to be supported in that way. but it's, yeah, like you said, almost taboo, almost like there's a fear of going there, a fear of support, and oh, that's the chaplain's job. But many departments don't even have a chaplain, or many departments chaplain is only out there serving the community. They're not there serving the officers, or don't have the trust and respect and support of the officers and their family members. So there's just a major shortcoming. And then I even saw that same shortcoming in churches across the country. There's many churches that have a heart for law enforcement and those that are serving, but don't understand the culture, which is
Yeah.
why I've been saying lately over the last year that I really believe that this is one of the greatest unseen mission fields in our nation today. Those that are out serving every single day, they're serving and they're sacrificing and they're putting it all on the line without this kind of support. And the churches and the pastors, the church leaders just don't understand the culture, don't know how to support. So this is where I'm excited to bring together so that there can be so much more effective support from chaplains, from churches, from ministries, from resources that want to provide the support but don't even know how.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And I think the ironic thing is, you're right, it's been such a taboo subject. And when it comes to the job of a law enforcement officer, you mentioned it right, service and sacrifice, dedication, believing in something greater than you. That's so biblical, it's crazy. It's kind of comical, right? And so the fact we're not too far apart here. So the fact that it's a taboo subject when the job itself mirrors it. If you could be listening here and you could be a complete agnostic or atheist, you still have to acknowledge historically the job of a law enforcement officer is very, very similar to what you call historical books, right? You have to acknowledge that. And so it's not hard to bring faith into that. I've seen a struggle with that and a fear of that, which is extremely odd to me. And I want to tell you how law enforcement also misses it. You don't know I'm going to bring this up. I've talked about this a few times in the capacity of a law enforcement commander, and it didn't always go over well, even inside churches. But, every department out there is doing every program. They're doing everything. They're trying to reduce crime, trying to reduce gun violence. You name the whiz-bang gadget, the whiz-bang technology, the program, you name it, the youth programs, you name it. We've thrown it all on the wall in the last 30 years. We've tried it all. Crime is not being impacted at a significant level. In fact, it's increased in recent years because the heart of the matter is that it's a heart matter. It's a sin matter. Crime is a sin issue. It's not a program issue. It's not pull yourself up in your bootstraps issue. It's not let's throw all this overtime money in high crimes area issue. Let's not do a drug war. Let's go after all the drug users. Oh, let's go after all the fentanyl users. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go to the border. I could go on and on. It's never going to change, Jeremy, unless we get to the heart of the matter. And I'll just leave that word salad with you and let me know what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I just say from my experience where my faith was important to me, even when I got hired, but I struggled because I didn't have the examples to follow. It took me over 2 years before I met another Christian police officer in the Seattle Police Department. I didn't know how to live out my faith. And so there does need to be that spiritual support. And I could just see the toll the job was taking on me in those first couple of years as I was wrestling with this. And I think that we can begin to lose hope. And I think
Yeah.
that hope is a huge factor. It's like, okay, so this is September, Suicide Awareness Month, and we're talking about it, and we're trying to address, PTSD and suicide and so many things among law enforcement. What if we're missing the mark in this spiritual component in terms of support? And then for me, once I had support, and I had support, I had examples to follow, I had hope myself. I was a different officer to my community. I mean, not that I wasn't serving, not that I didn't care, but I was, my eyes were open to different opportunities. I was able to go above and beyond. I was able to share that same hope that I had not lost with the community I was serving when I had hope. And I want that same thing for my fellow brothers and sisters out there serving and sacrificing every day, is to not lose hope. And these jobs will change you if you don't do something proactively.
Yeah, that word hope is so powerful. I would recommend everybody there's actually been research about hope, right? When you give people hope. I mean, the research has been pretty phenomenal. There's a couple of pioneers out there that have been pushing that research. But when I did my dissertation, I ran across a lot of that. And that is powerful. Like you said, that is extremely powerful. And you put hope in somebody, whether it's a police officer or a kid or somebody in a deadbeat job, it changes them, right? It changes generations. And so I think that's what's so powerful in what you're trying to do for the profession, Jeremy, because this is not a one shot and we're done. I mean, you're trying to literally change generations of law enforcement officers, and you're doing it through the hope of Jesus Christ. And you formed Mission First Alliance to collaborate with that, because I think you're right. I think if I was to look in the landscape, we've got a lot of independent people out there trying to do some good things, right? They're all trying to do some good things in their own little niches. What I love about what you're doing is you're trying to bring all of them together in a non-selfish way, right? Non-political way, just to go, let's all move in the right direction, and that builds synergy. Tell us a little bit about Mission First Alliance.
Yeah, that was exactly my experience is that once I started trying to reach for resources myself, trying to reach out, trying to find some, number one, as initially as a police officer, I couldn't find any locally, nationally, I couldn't find any. And then over the years, I realized there were a lot of resources out there, Christian resources for law enforcement and their family members, but they're all doing their own thing. And then there's just a lack of awareness on the street level that these even exist. So that was the goal behind Mission First Alliance, is how can we be uniting them all and then supporting them all to be more effective, so that in the end result is that the law enforcement and their families around the country are better supported, more effectively supported. So in the first year and a half of starting Mission First Alliance, we've already had over 90 members join in 27 different states. We've done 3 Leaders Summit retreats in Idaho, Arkansas, and Florida. And then we're just leading up to our first national networking conference, which is going to be kind of like 2 events in one, because we're doing a big kickoff event on the Friday night, September 20th in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where we're inviting local first responder families as well for a big kickoff fun event, and then highlighting all of these resources that are available to them all over the country. And then leading into our one-day national networking conference on September 21st inside the church at Ridgedale Baptist Church, Chattanooga, Tennessee. And we already have leaders coming in from, I believe it's close to 20 states now around the country for this networking conference. Leaders, whether they're chaplains, whether they're church leaders, whether they're business leaders, whether they're ministry leaders, whether they're active or retired first responders and spouses themselves. There are some amazing leaders that are coming in and coming together that want to learn from each other, want to support each other and encourage each other. And I'm excited just to bring them all together, to encourage them, support them, and just see what God will do through uniting them all.
Let's talk about the conference you have coming up. So they've got a Friday night event and they've got a Saturday event. Tell people kind of I think kind of get specific about each event, and then kind of, what type of things you're going to hear about, and then how can they register, things like that.
Yeah. On our website, missionfirstalliance.com, both are free to attend. You can register online for free. We want to reduce the barriers so that people can just come out. On Friday night, it's going to be a fun event for the first responder leaders, but also for local first responder families. We'll have emergency vehicles out like Touch a Truck. We'll have activities for the kids. We'll have a free hot dog dinner. We'll have live worship, and then highlighting all the resources around the country so that they know that they exist and they know that they're supported. On Saturday, it's a full day conference from 8 to 4:30. And this is going to be a leader-driven conference. Unlike any other conference I've been to so many wellness conferences, so many law enforcement conferences, which are great speakers, great information. But sometimes I walk away feeling like it's information overload and wishing I could just connect with the other leaders and learn from them and build relationships with them. So this is going to be a leader-driven conference. We're going to have one main speaker, but really it's going to be interactive and opportunities for leaders to learn from leaders and hear what everyone's doing around the country and learn how we can work together, collaborate with each other to be all more effective together. Yeah,
it really is a must go to event in 2024. I can't recommend it highly enough, Jeremy. You've made it completely free. You just got to get to Chattanooga. You got to get there. I'm sure on your website, you're going to, if they need hotels, they need advice, they can contact you. The website's, of course, scrolling. If you're listening, it's missionfirstalliance.com. But back to Mission First Alliance, you mentioned membership. Talk to us about how people can get involved with that, the different levels of membership. just kind of take us through there. And I want to give an offer at the end that I think will convince some folks to go there. So tell us about Mission First Alliance, how people can get involved.
Yeah, same thing on our website. Membership is free. We just want people to jump on our website, see our short application, just apply. So we have a little bit of background information. There's a short statement of faith. So we're all coming together as like-minded leaders, but the membership is free. And with that, it's not what you, by signing up, have to do by joining into Mission First Alliance. It's not really like that at all. What I'm sharing with leaders around the country is that it's more what Mission First Alliance can do for you. How can we support you? How can we connect you? How can we come alongside you? How can we provide the spaces, whether it's a monthly Zoom, whether it's a retreat for free, whether it's a national conference for free? What can we do to connect you, to support you in what you're doing and what you've been called to around the country? So, we just encourage people to join. And they're just more aligning with the need, aligning for more spiritual support for our nation's first responders and their family members, and seeing that Jesus is the answer. And how can we come alongside each other to all be more effective together?
Yeah, I'll speak from personal experience. Don't be scared away about a membership. I'm a member, and Jeremy is so kind. Like I don't get many emails. He invites me to his monthly calls. Jeremy, I think we got one tonight, don't we?
Yes.
So you don't have to go. If you don't go, no one's calling you. I've been a part of other things where it's like, come on, really? I mean, he is really going to respect your privacy and your space. It's not cumbersome. He's not blowing your phone up, but you want to plug in. You want to plug in. There is no cost. If you are a leader in any space, law enforcement, or anything else, don't fool yourself. Don't kid yourself. You need support. You need other brothers and sisters with you. That makes you a better leader. And I can't encourage you enough. The first 5 people that sign up at Mission First Alliance, once again, there's a free version of it. I think we would both love you to sort of help with the ministry. I help with the ministry, but you could sign up for free. And I'm going to send you a free book called Take Up the Shield. This isn't some pamphlet. This is a real book. It's on Amazon. A good friend of mine, Tony Miano, former chaplain, Los Angeles County, wrote the book. The book is full of cool stories from his time with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I have a few copies here at the house. So when you sign up, let Jeremy know you heard about it on this show. The first 5 are going to get a copy. I may have more than 5, so I'll do it till I run out, Jeremy, and he can just come back to me with your address, and I'll just ship the book to you. Not on any email list. You're just going to get that free resource, but you need to get involved. And if you can make this networking conference, folks, there's not a better deal than that. I mean, it's incredible to me that Jeremy, he does all these things no charge. His retreats are no charge. And I keep telling him, Jeremy, that's not a good business model. And Jeremy will always say, what? Travis, it's not a business. All right. So we're on 2 different levels here. But folks, this is a gem that I'm trying to inform people about. And you can be sitting there and you can go, well, I'm good, or I go to church, or I don't believe this, I don't believe that. This is for you. You need the support. Okay. You need the support of other servant leaders, people that believe in that higher calling. They're not going to preach to you. They're going to assist you in your daily duties, Jeremy. Just kind of talk to us about that.
Yeah, exactly. I know firsthand I needed the support and I was struggling. My family was suffering until I finally had that support and struggled, with it for a while. I'm just excited to have this opportunity to have walked that road, to be in a good place myself now, but to have so many examples around the country now of solid leaders in law enforcement that I'm excited to call friends. And I'm excited to be a part of this network. There are active officers as sergeants in Arizona, and a lieutenant in Alabama, a lieutenant in Florida, a captain in Colorado. It's like I am on the phone with regularly, and they are living out their faith. They are solid officers in law enforcement and leaders, and I'm excited for what that support can do, what that can mean. And there's so many of these active officers that will be at our national conference. We're just now about to launch our first 5 regional reps for Mission First Alliance, 3 of those 5 are still active in law enforcement. 2 of them are former law enforcement in Texas, Louisiana, North Carolina, Arizona, and Washington State. And I'm excited to grow that as well too, to just grow this network and grow the support so that we're not alone. I think that the myth of we're alone and feeling alone is a dangerous place to be, and I felt that, and that other just losing hope, of just not knowing how to move through something, and feeling alone. And we all get burnt out. We all get worn down. We're serving and sacrificing and putting others above ourselves. We're not the ones to ask for help, but we get burnt out. I've been there many times. I'm first one to go above and beyond to help others, and all of a sudden it comes at a cost, and I'm just burnt out, and I need the support from others. So I'm excited to grow this so that we can all have that together.
Yeah, Jeremy, it's so fantastic. And, I think our personalities lend us to believe that we can do these things on our own. But I tell you, when it comes to leadership, and you may not be a believer, but if you read anything on leadership that you've enjoyed, trust me, it's directed right back to the best leadership book out there called the Bible. You can kid yourself and say it doesn't, but that's exactly what it does. If you're in my seminars, I may not be preaching to you, but trust me, those principles are ingrained in biblical scripture because they have been given to us for a reason. And this is an opportunity to, if you want to be a better leader, you want to be a better husband, a better father, a better police, whatever it is, you're going to be able to leverage these men and women. And I wanted to close with this, Jeremy, because Jesus Christ saved me. He changed my life. I know he did the same for you. And the people that know me know that I'm a critical thinker. Okay. I don't just make willy-nilly decisions. I'm not just shooting from the hip here. I'm telling you right now, if you don't know Jesus, you don't know what you don't know. And it doesn't make me a better person. It makes me what I've done forgiven. Okay. It doesn't make me better than anybody else. It just makes me forgiven with grace. So just talk about the impact Jesus has made on your life, Jeremy, and what the power it can do in others.
Yeah. Jesus transformed my life. I grew up going to church. I knew what it meant. I knew what the Bible said. But I didn't know what it meant to have my life transformed. And again, going back to starting and getting hired on at 2008 in the Seattle Police Department, at 26 years old, married for 5 years with 2 kids, jumping in with both feet. I loved everything about the job, but I struggled until I surrendered my life to the Lord. I struggled, and I was trying to do it on my own, which I think I've seen so many others in law enforcement do. We want to control everything. We want to do everything on our own as much as we can, as long as we can. But once I surrendered my life to the Lord, Jesus transformed my life in a way that with hope and peace and joy that's not dependent on the circumstances. And you know what I know, the circumstances aren't easy in law enforcement, and they're not getting any easier. But in the midst of even the riots in 2020 in Seattle, I still had a peace that surpassed all understanding. And people were turning to me and looking at me like, how can you have so much peace? How can you still be, just so solid in the midst of this? And it was only Christ in me. It was nothing about me. So I want that same for everyone else. Jesus came, Jesus died for us, that we might have hope, that we might have eternal salvation, that we might have someone to comfort us and walk through this life with us. And I want that for all my brothers and sisters out there serving every day.
Yeah, it's I can't say anything other than that, Jeremy. You're right. People are, I think, hesitant to acknowledge that or talk about that, but it should be the greatest news we've ever heard, and we should want everybody to know it. So I appreciate you being on the ledge, brother. I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate everything you're doing with Mission First Alliance. We need people at this networking group. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. I would say a money back guarantee, but it's not costing you any money. Jeremy Wade, thank you so much for what you do. And if you've been watching and you've been listening, thank you for spending your time with us today.
Thank you for listening to Courageous Leadership with Travis Yates. We invite you to join other courageous leaders at travisyates.org.